Kuch Kuch Hota is releasing. You got a call from and they're gonna bump you off.
Never forget how Shah Rukh brought me out and he said, I'll take the bullet for you. You just stand here. That's when I realized that this is a relationship that is forever. And you know, for anyone who's been through one-sided love, ek tarfa pyar, and that heartbreak, it's like I saw the worst version of myself, not as a human being, but as I was pitiful in that zone. Many a reviewer walk in with a set mindset that this guy is dancing on a reality show.
Yeah.
You know, he's hosting a talk show. He's wearing like his mother's clothes.
તાજા સમાચાર તમારી ભાષામાં મેળવવા માટે ડાઉનલોડ કરો ગુજરાતી મિડડેની એપ.
Ae Dil Hai Mushkil, Karan, was about Ek Tarfa Pyar. Was a very melancholic film
And
in its own
angsty
right.
and very personal to me.
Very personal, because you mentioned this before. This was there's someone you were in love with, and it's unrequited love.
Yeah,
and that's what-
terrifying. I don't wish it on anyone. And you see the worst version of yourself in that situation.
Right.
That was a totally different film.
So the person that you were in love with, did that person watch this film and did they get back to you?
The Edil?
Yeah, the person you made the film for.
Yes,
They got back to you.
yes.
What did they say?
It was initially
They knew, right? That was
yeah. It was initially awkward because his character also the character dies in the end.
Yeah, you killed him.
No, which I don't want to speak of because I got once really bashed for saying something, but I don't want to get into that. But I'm like, the character was obviously went through a fictional arc as well. But yeah, it was cathartic for me to tell that story because I felt like that really helped me get over that love situation. And you know, for anyone who's been through one-sided love, ek tarfa pyar, and that heartbreak, it's like I saw the worst version of myself, not as a human being, but as I was pitiful in that zone. You know, when you stare at your phone waiting for it to ring, when you want that message and that message changes your day, when you know your heart really hurts. It's a physical pain. It's not just symbolic. It's painful. And then when you wake up with that anxiety and heavy breathing, and then when you see that person even with somebody else, then that breaks you into a million pieces. You realize that love can make you and break you, and it can tear you apart. It's not something, and I feel it so strongly with the generation of today who really take their love very seriously. I feel like we kind of call it like a Tinder generation, a swipe left, swipe right generation, but people are really genuinely falling in love deeply and having their hearts broken even. Like, I feel Ae Dil had a very polarized last act, but I feel like that concept of like intense, mad, crazy love really, I think, stayed on with especially the Gen X, Gen Z kids because they're going through it. I was far from Gen Z and Gen X. I actually found this crazy mad love in my late 30s and early 40s, and then it just went on for years. But what it did is it gave me a film. It gave me closure, and it now gave me a lot of perspective of never to go back in that zone again.
How long was this Ek Tarfa Pyar?
7 to 8 years.
Oh my God, that's crazy.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it can be said, right? And it's a known thing that the opposite of love is not hate, it's indifference.
Yeah.
Right? And then this would be worse than breakup because I'm presuming because it's one-sided, the other person is indifferent towards you.
No, that's the thing is that the other
Is it
person...
blowing hot and cold?
No, person was completely sensitive to me.
Okay.
And went through every beat with me with utmost sensitivity. So I cannot even hate. I can't even be indifferent. And today that person is very much part of my family. Like, so, I mean, like, the person is like, is very much part of my ecosystem, my friends. Like, you know, I have friends that are out of the industry.
Your ecosystem is so huge.
No,
it
but
can honor the planet.
fortunately, this person is not from the industry.
Okay,
so
okay.
It didn't overlap like that. You know, I have a lot of school, college friends and friends from, I grew up in a different part of the city. So I have friends. So this person was not from the industry, and that actually helped,
Right.
But because it gets very messy when it's from the industry.
Tell me something, Karan, and I've always meant to ask you this ever since you wrote this beautiful book, Unsuitable Boy. You know, that you have a passage there about dating. And you're talking about how difficult it is for someone, or not difficult it is for someone who's rich and famous to date. I mean, you went... How difficult is it for you to go on a date? Because everybody knows you, the person, even if you don't know them, they know too much about you. Yeah. Is it hard?
Yes, it is. It's, when people say put yourself out there, I'm not sure where that there is for me. I've been looking for it a lot. And I don't know what more I can do to put myself out there, because I'm more out there than most people are. But like, I feel like, though they say you find love in the darnest places, in the strangest places, I've been to strange places also. I
want to know about that, because you've written about this specialized dating agency.
I did. I'm very much joined this agency, which was apparently easy for me. It was based out of London, and they would kind of like connect you to, people, who after they ask you for your requirements or your likes and whatever, and you have a long meeting with them, 2 to 3 hours. That process is still on. It's been a couple of years, but I had been on a couple of telephonic dates, Zoom dates in the pandemic. Some dates like in physical person, because people are all over the world. So when you land up being in the same city, it hasn't landed anywhere, because the thing again is, Mayank, we, at least me, and I can say for myself, we are in a very different world that the rest of the world who are not part of our world don't understand. I don't know how to explain to people how that my life is so manic, because I do so many, I run verticals within my company, and I'm working on Saturdays and Sundays, and I love my work so much, and then the rest of the time now I devote to my children and my mum. So I don't know where the place can be found, and I don't want an unequal relationship. I don't want somewhere where the other person is just following my diary.
Right.
You don't respect that. So I'm kind of lost right now in that respect, but I'm not missing it. I feel like I needed Rocky or Rani's, the validation I got from it, to kind of complete that one little tiny void in my heart that would have been looking for love. I think I get that love now from cinema, from actually creating it, telling stories. I feel like I no longer feel the need to be in a relationship, and this has dawned on me very recently. I used to feel like lonely at times, then the kids came along, and then that loneliness was taken care of. And now I feel like my vicarious pleasure of telling stories is so much more powerful than the relationship, because I can actually tell those relationships. I can tell those stories of those relationships, and that completes me in many ways. So today, I'm okay to be on dates or, slightly intimate situations, but I'm not.
But not something steady.
But I
not
don't know.
steady.
I'm not
like Rocky would say.
Not steady. No steady GF, BF, whatever it is. So I know Vicky likes it minty, but I'm not so sure whether I never say never. You never know who walks into your life, and everything changes. Like everything I'm saying right now just changes.
100%.
But as of now, no, my work satiates me.
Right. I mean, going back to that film and that sort of, it was a cathartic thing for you. The other thing that happened with Edil Karan was, of course, the political side of it, right? I mean, it just blew up into something else altogether. And I have to say, it's been a while now. It's been 7 years. I guess I hope we can talk about it. I mean, when I saw your video, right, when you're talking about, this is what I've done, this is a film, it was made at the time, blah, 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 blah. It felt like a hostage video to me. It must have been damn troubling for you.
Anything that a filmmaker goes through that is beyond his or her film, any external factor that you have to kind of, wrap your head around right before the release of the film is very hurtful. There was pain attached to that situation, and I won't get into the optics and the politics of it, because I really don't want to. I feel like 7 years later, we're in a position where we're telling our stories, but I still carry the baggage of that situation. But that doesn't mean that bogs me down anymore, but I do go back in time and get like a bit disturbed with so many things. In a sense that I've combated situations before. It happened during My Name is Khan. It happened again during Edil. Some of my releases have also dealt with some personal losses. Kal Ho Na Ho, when it released, my father was in chemotherapy. When Student of the Year released, Yash Uncle passed away that weekend.
Same weekend?
Yes, the same weekend of release. It's been a weirdly tough time during my directorial releases.
What do you think it is, Karan? Do you think you're just too mainstream for anyone to admit their love? Like this cynical critics, like, what will their cred be? Because you're so mainstream.
No,
like, if you like Karan Johar,
The thing is, it's that your reputation precedes you in not such a good manner, in a way. I many a time feel like many a reviewer walk in with a set mindset that this guy is dancing on a reality show.
Yeah.
You know, he's hosting a talk show. He's wearing like his mother's clothes. He's just all over the place. He can't possibly make a good film, you know. So I feel like your public persona eats into your filmmaker persona. If I was quiet, silent, absent,
Brooding,
maybe very humbly dressed and simple and just
rolling
absent.
a cigarette.
No, well, not really that, but like I don't endorse smoking of any kind. But like I'm like, if I was really that person who I was not born to be or didn't want to be, I feel I would have been taken
Far more seriously.
I feel because I'm out in everyone's faces wearing like big glasses and all that. So, you know, there was a deep dive that I did into the internet world about like what is it that I get trolled for, and a lot of this came out. I went back into my head and heart and I said that, am I going to change because the world expects me to? That's not a valid change to make. Am I going to stop being a person that I want to be? No, then I've always done things that have been away from what the society expects of you. I'm a single parent with twins. I'm very proud of that decision. I have tried to live my life on my own terms. And eventually I feel like even the critics will come around to the fact that...
But was there a phase, Karan, or maybe it was a phase of changing cinema as well, where you felt like, okay, fine, I need to have some sort of political voice as well. I need to have some darkness in my movies too. I mean, that's what you did with Bombay Talkies. My Name is Khan was a political film.
Yeah.
The only one that you made, which is a pure, downright political film in that sense.
Is
right?
My Name is Khan. It happened on my Bombay Talkies, it happened on Love Stories.
Yes.
I've been trying to do this and I think, you know, slowly that evolution is being noticed. But then I went and made Student of the Year, but I also wanted to make it. I want to make a happy high school musical film. And I'm like, why can't it be seen
Why can't it be both?
Why can't it be seen as versatility as opposed to cheese and like content? Like, I mean, okay, yeah, so it was kind of a cheesy, happy, not moving any cinematic mountains kind of movie, but that's what I aimed for. I didn't aim to make Student of the Year into like, you know, some cult classic. Right. It was not meant to be. It was meant to actually be a launch vehicle for these three actors and for me to make a fun, happy film that creates a franchise. I didn't have any other agenda. And soon after that, I made a personal film. And soon after that, which was not soon after that, I made this. So I'm like, and then the short films really empowered me because when I got into the room with Dibakar and Zoya and Anurag, I felt like if I have to be the right guest at this party, I have to make films that will not make their films look bad. You know, because imagine having an anthology and having one suddenly like one popping bubblegum romance. It would have just... So I was like, okay, I have that part to me too. See, I'm Gemini, Mayank. There's a lot going on here. Right. You know, there are two people actively breathing. So there's one lip sync guy and there's also one cerebral dark guy. And they're both of them kind of sometimes fighting with each other or living in their separate domains. The short film, those anthologies gave me an opportunity to breathe in the other side of me. So whether it was talking about repressed sexuality in Bombay Talkies or the right to female pleasure in Love Stories, they were both very unusual choices for me to make. But I'm like, I have to belong to this bash. Like, I don't want to ruin this Dibakar Anurag Zoya party. Like, I don't want to ruin that party. And I'm like, I really need to be on top of things. But I really realized that it allowed a certain part of me to express without the fear of any box office. And I enjoyed that so much.
Right. You know, I want to go back to 25 years because that's what you celebrate in October. And, you know, it's been a lot of ups and downs in terms of your personal life, as you put it, right? Every time you have a release, something happens which may not be as fortunate. You know, you mentioned a few of those instances. But, you know, what I find the craziest story about you is actually the beginning of your career, where, you know, Kuch Kuch Hota is releasing. And you are locked up in a room at the premiere of your own film because you got a call from and they're going to bump you off. And you have two people, your two assistants, Tarun Mansukhani and Nikhil Advani telling you, Abhi clap chal raha hai, Abhi standing ovation, but you're stuck in a room. That's bizarre.
I don't think I can ever forget, for the longest time, you know, I had a dream that I'd have a premiere at Liberty because that's where Hum Aapke Hain Kaun was, and that's where Dil To Pagal Hai was. And I used to have this dream, and it used to be really a dream, not just like a symbolic dream. It used to really come in my
Literally.
dream. That a Mercedes car will come and Shami Kapoor will emerge.
Young Shami Kapoor?
Yeah, like, no. The
like
Shami
the
Kapoor.
present Shami,
Because Shami uncle used to attend the premieres.
Okay,
you know?
it was one of those.
So I was sitting in this tiny room because there were all the security, and you've already given names. I'm not saying anything. I'm so scared. I'm like, there was this threat coming in, and we were releasing.
And they asked you not to release the film.
They asked for whatever reason we didn't want us to release, and the authority said, please go ahead and release it. Shah Rukh knew about like this dream I had. So when Shami uncle came out of the Mrs. Mercedes car, Shah Rukh went inside, brought me out, and made me stand right in front of him. He said, nobody will do anything to you. You watch this moment. So I saw that moment happen, and I had tears in my eyes because it was my dream actually realizing itself. And Shah Rukh said, you won't go from here. You won't go from here. Then my mother got hyper and father got hyper, and they sent me back. But I'll never forget how Shah Rukh brought me out, and he said, I'll take the bullet for you. You just stand here. And I was like, that's when I realized that this is a relationship that is forever. After that party, after the premiere, I didn't see the film with the audience at all. I was rushed into another room. We were having a party at a restaurant called Khyber. There they said, we have a list, but there are 6 uninvited people who have entered now.
Oh, damn.
It could have been just 6
Right.
gate crashers, but
Usual
it was
gate
security.
crashers, yeah.
That night, my father said, we are leaving the country. So we left for London.
The same night?
The same night at about 4 or 5 a.m. in the morning. My mum, me, my dad, scared people, just on a flight to another country. We went to London and we didn't know what the hell was happening. Like the first couple of days, those were not internet days. We didn't know where to log in. We were just trying to first be settled into like a tiny apartment because, we were, and in a discreet location. I don't know why it was like seeming like very scary for us at that time. And my mother somewhere secretly was, I think, hoping that only emotionally and for her protective that if this film is not a big hit, it's okay. It's fine.
Right, under the radar, yeah.
But she wasn't saying it. But so we decided to go to Marble Arch, which was the cinema that day. That was a big 300-seater, 500-seater actually. And we were watching the film with the audience because we hadn't seen it, right? And there was pin drop silence right through, some laughs here and there. Interval, there was a mass exodus, like 300 people got up to go out. And they used to keep an interval in those days in the overseas audience. They don't do it anymore. And my mother said, they've all left with maybe a tinge of some happiness. So my father said, no, it's not possible. He walked outside, and there was a huge line of a lot of the ladies were standing outside, to get into the washroom. And he said, why is there such a crowd? They said, can't you see our mascara is off? We've been crying so much. And then I went back and I said, oh, mummy, people are crying and all in the movie and all. So she said, oh. And then at the end of the film, when we walked out, everybody was like, oh, this is a great Yash Raj film. And because they didn't know who I was. My father very proudly was saying, it is his film. He directed it. And people are looking at me like, who's he and why? Whatever. And they walked out.
You were a kid then,
right? I was 25 years old, and I was like, I was just so lost. It was only on the Tuesday morning of the film's release. Landlines landlines in our we didn't have a mobile that time. Landlines in the apartment weren't allowed international calls, so I had to go into the red booth, and I took a couple of coins with me and I had to call Adi to find out, because Adi's Yash Raj was distributing the film. And he's saying, I've been trying to call you. So I was like, yeah, like I'm really nervous to ask what's happening, how's it doing? I haven't heard anything. So he's like, where are you? So I said, I'm talking to you from a phone booth. He said, what's the most expensive thing you want to buy? So I'm like, what do you mean? So I said, well, what do you mean? He said, well, what's the most expensive thing you want to buy? I said, I want to move to a bigger house with mom and dad. So he says, you know what, come back to Bombay and buy the biggest house because your movie's a blockbuster.
Crazy.
And I was like, and I was staring at that phone, and I was like, and I'm a little bit of an emotional maniac, and I was weeping. He's saying, you stop crying, it's great news. Your film is like here, there, everywhere, every territory, blah, blah, blah. my father, when I went up, I woke my parents up, and I was like, like, hello, like our film is a big hit. So my mother was like, means what? Because we'd not heard this. So I was like, my father had films that had failed prior to this. Right before that, 6 months before this was Duplicate. Before that was Gumrah, which was...
Oh, Duplicate was not a hit?
No, it was a big flop, yeah. Agnipath, Gumrah, all of these had been... Agnipath was acclaimed, but not a commercial success at all. We hadn't seen success, in so long. Went straight, like, my father then took the same coins and started calling the CPCI, Rajasthan, distributor, and like, it was just like, and there were just three of us, right? Mum, dad and me, and just our own little party. And then my mum came around, I think, because she realized that this was emotional for us, And the strangest thing happened on that day. My mother told me, and I don't think I've shared this, but it's hilarious. I had started premature graying because of my dad. My dad was premature. So my mother said, today, go dye your hair. That was her emotional reaction to my film being a blockbuster. So I didn't know when you go color your hair, you think your hair is black, right? So you go there and they said, what color? And I said, black. I came back looking like mad. Like, because you're supposed to go light brown or medium brown on your color. Black meaning I came home and like my parents were looking at me like I looked mad, like
like you're wearing a toupee or a wig
I
or something.
Looked like it was jet black, the color of night on my head. And I'm like, she said, what did you say to the colorist? I said, black. Isn't my hair black? She says, no, it's light brown, medium brown. You don't say black. There are stages. I'm like, no, I was so embarrassed. I didn't know what to do because there's no redemption from black, right? You have to wait for the black to fade. Right. And then, so I was walking around with a cap, right through this, and it was just mad that I looked so crazy for about 25 days after, because it took a really long time for that. I couldn't even go to a restaurant normally because I felt like, not because they knew me,
right,
but there was a strange person with very dark hair, and I'm like,
So basically, if you go back to 25 years ago, locating your pictures from right after Kuch Kuch Hota Hai, you're wearing a cap.
Yes.
For the first 25 days anyway.
Well, I wasn't photographed at all, so there's no archival evidence of this. But I know that was a big mistake. I didn't know better, yaar. I'd never colored my hair. I was 25 years old.
Right.
I was like, black.
Right.
Mere baal kale hain. So they were like, and I remember this colorist asking me, are you sure? I was like, yeah, what a stupid question to ask. Yeah, I'm sure. I'm going to color my hair black because I have so many grey hair.
I mean, of course, at that time, people didn't know your face. But you subsequently became a face in a way that we've not known directors in India to be. Yeah. Like, you were literally everywhere. Where did that begin from? Because you're going to be a filmmaker, right? Who knows filmmakers' faces? In fact, even Farhan, before he became an actor, he was telling me nobody knew what he looked like. And that's a little later, of course. How did that happen? I mean...
It began with actually the award ceremonies when I started winning awards for Kuch Kuch Hota, and I was giving these eloquent, long speeches that were shown on television. So slowly there's that. Then in the year 2001, Pradeep Guha and Khalid Mohammed asked me to host Filmfare. It was in February 2001 that I hosted for the first time. And that, I think, began the journey of...
So they saw you as like an MC face as well, not just a person.
And then that time I did it for free because it was like, I thought, a great opportunity.
What are you saying? They were making a lot of money.
Yeah, but they didn't pay me in 2001. Subsequently, I have been paid by the same organization and I'm very grateful for it. 2003 onwards, I started hosting the Z Award. 2004, I started Coffee with Karan. And I think that's what became like...
Right.
Like making me recognizable and, and being out there as a filmmaker who was not only hosting award shows, because I did Z for about 4 years in a row and I was hosting that show that was on primetime, on Star World. And
And your interviews and stuff, right? I mean, you
and I started giving interviews because I think that, I was also everywhere and, I was also very happy and I was very struck by the industry, though I was from it. But because from it at a distance at a point, but I was very awestruck by everyone. Like, whoever I met, the big movie stars that I grew up watching, meeting them, interacting them in the same room and as an individual who's now a legit member of the industry, it made me feel great. Like, I got over my starstruck phase very late.
Really?
Like, I was awestruck till a point, like with everyone. So,
I mean, you worked with Shah Rukh Khan, who was the biggest star of the time.
but Shah Rukh's journey and my journey kind of were all...
They coincided
There were no
almost?
95,
Yeah.
94 was when I assisted. His stardom was 93, 1993. So kind of he was also like...
Like Dar would be his breakout
Yeah,
in a
so,
certain
and
sense.
we on set with him in 94. So it was like we all, Adi, me and him were like friends. That superstardom energy, I've seen Shah Rukh's entire growth in front of me and felt a part of it.
Right.
But I didn't meet him as a movie star. I met him as like this young, vibrant actor with so much promise.
Speaking of which, getting paid, did you pay Shah Rukh for Ae Dil Hai Mushkil to make a cameo?
No,
Free.
neither for
Free man,
Brahmastra.
yeah. Brahmastra also
Brahmastra
free.
he shot 14 days.
14 days for free.
14 days, but Shah Rukh, that's our relationship.
You must have gifted him something.
Of course.
Like a Cadillac and a Rolls Royce.
No, none of that. I give him clothes. He loves clothes. But like Shah Rukh there's no such thing as a money exchange. Like, you know, what I do and what he does, and there is no money involved. I don't think he's ever asked me for money, even for a film he's done. It's whatever is given. Our contracts with Shah Rukh are, it's a pleasure to work with you. Thank you so much. And that's the contract. There is no contract. We don't have a contract with Shah Rukh. I don't have any contract.
Not a
with
piece of
him.
paper.
No, I don't have any detailed paper.
Crazy.
Like whatever it is said and it's done, and whatever he expects of me or I expect. I remember when he was shooting Ravan, you know, he had a double unit. He called me to shoot for 6 days because Anubhav was doing big action and he needed some simple, like just patch kind of scenes. I flew in from Bombay, did it. It was not. These are not big deals, Mayank, in our relationships. You know, whether it's with Adi or Shah Rukh. Like Adi asked me for anything. I mean, as I said, I'll do anything that is asked because I'm here because of them. I mean, you know, how can you forget that? Loyalty is the most required quality in a person, and it rarely exists.
So I'm going to look at that side of you, which is the producer side, right? And I remember distinctly, although I don't have it on record anywhere, because there was some book I was working on where it was like a bunch of questions that you ask a bunch of filmmakers, and different answers will reveal their process, which at some point I got bored of. So, but then I had met you then. And Karan, I remember asking you because that was one of the questions, why do you make films? And it was the usual, you would have said something to the effect of storytelling or expressing and blah. But what you said was, I don't know why we produce films because it's the most thankless job ever. This is around 2004-05 I'm talking about. Do you feel the same?
No, things have changed since then.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, now you work with so many different energies and so many different people that you can learn from. And now the producer job, there is an active producer on set. Like, we have producers and they get due credit for it. Now, my job is like, I'm like kind of a studio head.
Right.
So I don't look at myself as
the world
an
has changed in
active,
that sense.
the active producer would have to be on set, manage logistics. I don't need to do that. You know, Apurva and I Apurva, of course, much more in the thick of things. He's like the fulcrum of the organization. I'm just creatively, my job is to just be creatively engaging with the filmmaker, the screenplay writers, the music forces of the film. I don't get into the really like tough stuff, which is like the active, you know, which is really tough.
Actors' dates.
Dates. I don't get into
Getting
all of
locations
that.
and places.
No, not at all. I'm not doing any of that. I'm just like creatively sitting and jamming, watching rushes, sitting in the final edit, all the fun stuff.
Right,
you know,
right,
so that's why I'm very happy to produce multiple films.
Because at that time, I'm presuming you would have produced Kal Ho Na Ho, where you were the writer, and I'm presuming a creative producer on the film, right? And that would have been one experience, or maybe another one or two.
That was 2003. Then we made a film called
There's
Kaal.
been 20 years
Then
for
we
that,
made a film called Kaal in 2004. Then many years, then we made Kabhi Alvida in 6. And then the job of what I was talking about started with Dostana, Wake Up Sid, I Hate Love Stories, Kurban, going into eventually Jawani Diwani and several others that began, you know. So I'm like, that was when introducing new directors, you know, then the Humpty Sharma, Badrinath, then Shashank
Which you've
came
done
in,
so many
Shakun
of,
came in, and I mean, you know, Ayan came in. There was like, before that there was Puneet and Tarun and Nikhil. And
I mean, when it comes to being on the screen, Karan, and that's, I mean, cinema becomes bigger, but a lot of people of a certain age would have watched you first on TV in Doordarshan with a show called Indradhanush. And you know, I'm sure, I mean, I found it online. It was very easy for me to find this picture. I want to show it to you. That's you. Man, it's crazy. It's crazy. That's you.
yes.
This is this actor
This is
called
Akshay Anand,
Akshay Anand,
whose real name is John Gardner.
John Gardner.
That's a school friend of mine called Amisha Javeri.
What is going on? Like, how did you land this show? And
How
old were you?
If you want to know a really funny story
Yeah.
about how this happened, so when school finished,
You mean 12th grade?
No, 10th.
Okay, 10th grade. Okay.
10th. I was 15, and I was plus size to be woke. I was extra plus size, and my mother got a call. She knew Anand Mahendru, and my mother got a call, and she said that he said, "Oh, Hiru, how are you? I heard you have a really plus size child." And my mother said,
I heard you have.
I don't know. I was apparently somebody via said, "Oh, Hiru and Yash have a large child." So he said, "I need a really large child for this show." And does he act? My mother said, "Yeah, he does drama." But Anand got defensive about my plus size and said, "It's puppy fat. It'll go." So he said, "Yeah. But till then, can he come and do an audition for me?" I didn't even know what an audition was. And he lived like very far away. We used to stay in Malabar Hill. So I got into this cab and went all the way there, thinking that what's going to happen? I'll just do some audition. I had done school dramatics. Like I had not even acted or anything. I go there and I'm sitting, and for some reason Anand was busy in the edit, and I was waiting, and there was somebody sitting opposite me and doing the crossword and drinking tea. I looked at him, he looked at me. I found him familiar. He just smiled politely. For about 4 hours, both of us sat.
Waiting.
Yeah. Anand walked in first. He tapped me and said, "I'll come to you." And he went to this boy who was young and said that, "I think, we'll do the part. You're on for the part." He says, "No, actually, I came to say I don't want to do TV. I want to do film, but I really like the tea in your office and I wanted to finish my crossword." And he walked off. And then Anand took me in and he said, "Crazy, do you know who that is? Shah Rukh Khan. His name is, he was in 4G. And I'm like, oh.
That's how you first met?
Yes, we were sitting opposite, opposite a closed room. And I'm like, I said, "Oh, yeah, right, I remember 4G. That's why I found
4G
it
was
familiar.
huge, yeah.
That's why I found it familiar." But I don't know what he was doing. He was drinking tea and doing the crossword. And then he didn't even want to do the role and he left. And then
he got offered the role and
he said, "No, but I just like the tea. I want to say." And I was like, and that explains Shah Rukh Khan, to you about him. I said, "Wow, like what a cool guy." Then he said, "Now this is the guy doing it. This is my Akshay Anand." And I said, I knew him from Xavier's because I was in HR and Xavier's and HR design. I said, "He's John Gardner." So Akshay, and so he said, "Okay, now come on set." There was a set in RK Studios. They put up a set for this computer and he put me into costume. And then he just made me act.
Like these are kids who've accidentally invented a time machine.
Yeah, time machine, yeah. So he made me just come down looking like, he made me do some hammy expressions coming down and all that. I did it and he said, "Okay, you're on for the part." So I was like, okay. So I went back home and I said, "Okay, now I'm acting in the serial." So which I thought was going to be the summer job, right? But it went on for 2.5 years because of delays. And so I finally got ragged in my second year junior college by first year junior college students. And I was like, 1 minute, my ragging days are over. I'm in like SYJC now. Second year, why are you ragging? Because the show had dropped then. And it was so embarrassing because there was me and Jugal Hansraj who had done a campaign called MBD Books. For me, for you, for everybody. He used to just keep appearing. Every time you saw a video cassette of a film, it would start with Jugal Hansraj saying MBD Books. For me, for
He's
you,
the boy
for everybody.
from Masoom
From
anyway,
Masoom.
yeah.
So he and I were the two people ragged, and once we went running into a room for people who were ragging us, and we got friends. We got to become friends because we were the ones ostracized by like everybody, and then things settled down. So that was my acting gig started there and ended with Bombay Velvet.
No, it hasn't ended. I mean, you never know, right?
I've asked a lot of people to cast me. I meet with very silent responses, even in my own company where I kind of suggest that maybe this part I can do, and they're like, "No."
But you are in so many businesses, Karan, and you didn't tell me what those businesses are. One, there is the Numa in town, which used to be, the iconic Indigo.
Yes.
That's associated with you. So you own Numa. There would be clothing line that's associated with you. Am I right?
No, I'm clothing line. We have jewelry with Yani.
Yeah, with jewelry, right?
With Yani, and we have Numa, and then there's several other things that I've invested in. I go by instinct, Mayank. If I like the product or the person attached to the product, I'll invest or be part of that. But it's really about me having that feeling. So my decisions in life, personal and professional, are very strongly instinct based. Sometimes I don't know why I'm saying yes to something, but it's just a feeling. I don't know why when a director walks into my room, whether it was Shakun Batra or Shashank Khaitan or Ayan Mukherjee, when they first walked into my room and I felt like I'm going to make a movie with these guys. I just knew it and it happened. Like that's your instinct. We are all given this superpower called instinct. It's just that you tend to sometimes put societal pressure, intellectualism, pragmatism over your instinct, and then you take a another decision. But your instinct will tell you everything.
Was doing Coffee with Karan also an instinct in that
Yes,
sense?
when everyone said don't do it. Everyone said don't do it. And I
You
was
know,
like, I
you
really
did
want
it and you ruined it for most journalists in the city because, you know, they get this access to a great person and all they start doing is asking rapid fire questions and playing games. Like, you have a chance to converse. Why don't you have a conversation? But they all started aping you, right?
You know, the other problem is like when you're doing an interview, you're listening to what I'm saying.
Yeah.
But when I do interviews, they have a checklist of 12 questions and I can see them going back, like, you know, so when you're rattling away,
Right.
you know, you're
They're not responding to
rambling,
what you're saying.
You're rambling away and the person is just not in, sure, they're saying, and then they go to their second question. I'm like, that is not what an interviewer is.
Right.
An interviewer is somebody who listens. You know, you have to listen. Coffee with Karan is just easy breezy conversation.
Right.
But I don't know when. Somebody asked me, how do you come up with name? I don't remember. How do you come up rapid fire? I don't remember. I don't remember anything. It was 2004. I just remember feeling that
I'm a trivia guy, so I know the name of the person. I think Payal Mukherjee was credited with making questions for rapid fire round.
Yes,
Is that correct?
She was one of them. Yeah.
Okay,
Then
she's one of them. Okay.
It went on to many other
Too many
people.
others thereafter.
It started, I don't even know, in the beginning I used to write the rapid fire. Then of course Saul was the producing partner. Then they used to write the rapid fire. Then it just kept evolving. I did it for fun initially, not realizing, you know, that, you know, I don't own Coffee with Karan.
Oh, you don't, that's not your IP.
It's not my IP. Because
But nobody else can do Coffee with Karan anyway, so.
No, you can do it with Karan Thapar. They can
Karan
do it with Karan Thapar. But they can do it with him. They
Technically
can.
speaking,
Technically,
yeah.
they can.
Yeah.
And if I leave, I can do conversation with Karan, but I can't ever do coffee with Karan.
But
I'm
will it
very
be with a
happy.
K though?
It'll always be the case. And I got reprimanded by an English teacher once, who I met at an event.
English
And
nahi aati tumko?
no, she said, you know, all students write coffee with a K.
Oh.
And she said, like, you know, because they think coffee is with a K, and you know, it's things like this you have to be careful about. I was like, I'm so sorry.
Yeah. But when did this fixation of K end for you, Karan?
When Kaal and Kurban released.
Oh, that Kurban was also with a K, not with a Q.
Yes.
So you had to see one flop or two, say कि ये K नहीं चल रहा now.
अभी
doesn't
हो
matter.
गया, maybe the K got exhausted also. इतना कुछ pressure डाल दिया था K के ऊपर, तब K भी थक चुका था. तो I was like, उसके बाद all the superstitions started going.
Right. I mean, unlike Rakesh Roshan, right? I think he's had all his movies even up till now with K.
Yes, with K. But I let go of many things. I was doing many crazy things, you know.
Like what?
And then, like, I used to go to some feng shui store and someone said, put these large bells in your bag. And I've done that also. Put red in your room, paint your wall. I've listened to many people. You know, when you're a filmmaker, you're so vulnerable and you're so attached to success. You do everything. With age, you realize that अगर picture अच्छी है तो चल जाएगी. Picture अगर अच्छी नहीं है तो it's not going to work. No matter how many bells I put into my bag or how many walls I paint or how many places of worship I might reach. You know, it's like my father used to literally be one of the most religious, not religious, but he was very like, he had his own prayer. And he also always told me, he said, you know, don't pray for success. Because if you pray for success, that is not going to. He said, pray for stability. Pray for happiness in your organization. Just pray that people that you work with are happy working for you. Don't get into that. But he used to get very upset when I was doing all these crazy things in between. Reading, going to psychics and I still believe in a lot of that. I still believe in astrology because I believe it's a science. I still have one person who's guiding me. But I don't do it to the detriment of a circumstance.
So you would add an extra I to key in Rocky Rani because it's coming from somewhere.
And I'll stay away from the number 8, which I believe is not lucky for me.
When you read so much about yourself, especially in the last 3 years, sometimes it also makes a person feel apologetic about their actions or thoughts, or that every step that I'm taking is misfiring. You know, people use the word nepotism so casually with you, or every decision that you take, or your relationship with Alia. Now, how does one, you know, especially an artist, keep being apologetic away from them and be comfortable?
Honestly, I haven't and I will not apologize for anything. I will cast who I feel is right. If that person happens to be related to somebody in the industry, then so be it. Alia is like my first child. I will always love her in public, in person, and she will always be part of my life. And you can keep saying things, you can call me what you want, you can call me all the names you want. Eventually, that negativity is eating that person up, not me. I'm rising above it. I'm taking the high road. And when you take the high road in life, none of it, you cannot change your way of being because of what people say. That is something I firmly believe, and I've always done that. I've done what my heart believes in. If my heart is, and my mom has taught me, if you are in the right, you believe you are in the right, then how can anyone make a difference? I can't start suddenly. Tomorrow, if I'm launching an actor who is equipped to be in a film and comes from a film family, that may be privileged for us for the start, but after that, she or he has to prove their mettle. But maybe I've seen something and I have access to that something. Why should I not leverage it? You know, and there are enough and more. We do the math, you know, in our organization. So at a given point of time, you are working with between the Dharmatic shows, Dharma production movies, Dharma 2.0 ads, which we produce ads, and DCA, which is our talent management. You have an employer base of over, like, say, 1,000 people,
Wow.
800 to 1,000 people, right, working for you, and even films that are moving. But at one given point in time, you have 800,000 people. Of those 800 to 1,000 people whose livelihood depends on the work that is given, and we make sure that we are well taking care of each and every member of that organization, out of that 98% of those are not from the industry. Why is this data not talked about? Why are we talking about that one star kid or one industry kid that is getting an opportunity? What about the other thousands of people that are working, who are not from the industry and are working beautifully and comfortably and contributing so massively? But if you want to make a narrative that works negatively, you will make any narrative. The negativity is on whoever is making the narrative, not on me.
And did you arrive with this at some point in life, that you need to be distant, insulate yourself from stuff that people say because you do you?
I've always done me. I mean, I've never bothered. I mean, have I stopped? No. It's not that I've stopped casting people from the industry or I've isolated myself from the sheer wonderfulness of Alia Bhatt. I have not listened to anyone. I just left a platform. I didn't listen, but because that platform had nothing to do with the things they were saying, it was about my kids. I didn't want to read that. That to me is, and whoever is a parent in this room will know that you'll take anything. You'll take anything about anyone. Your child, you can't take anything about. And I don't know who to fight, right? Those people, I don't know who's house. They're nameless, faceless people, and some who have names also, I don't know what kind of names they have. So, you know, so who do I go and fight with? I'd rather just exit.
I've been around as a journalist for a very long while. And over the years, there are only two people I know, and I keep saying it to friends, the only two people I know, if you send a text to, and of course, it'll be for work, the person will respond in 5 minutes, and it's crazy that it'll be within 5 minutes. One is Amitabh Bachchan, and the second is Karan Johar. And both of you freaking work hard like crazy. Like, I take 3 days to even respond to anything, and I'm a rando. You know what I mean? It's crazy how you do it.
So I have what you call message reply anxiety, if that's a thing. Like, you know, it's like I know it's at the back of my head, I haven't replied to a message, I start going mad. So on birthdays and all, I go crazy. Like, and I recently discovered WhatsApp has these 3 lines where you can go on it and then you don't have to keep scrolling back because you can message. So it's like manna from the heavens, because now I can reply to birthdays, you know, like, because
thank you. Or
no, I write, I personalize, and write, and hearts, emojis, and all that. And sometimes when you don't want to, then you send many emojis, and you know, like whatever to be. But whatever you give the person that required attention, time, and gratitude for their message. I have a big problem. Like, I rarely miss a message, and if I do, then it's by design.
Karan Johar, please stay that way.
Thank you.
It's been a pleasure.
Thank you.
25 years of you being in the movies.
Thank you.
And I mean, we can continue this conversation forever, but at some point we need to stop. Thank you so much, Karan.
Thanks, Mayank. Thank you.
સબસ્ક્રાઇબ કરો ગુજરાતી મિડ ડે. બેલ આઇકોન પર ક્લિક કરીને મેળવો તમામ વિડીયોના ડાયરેક્ટ નોટિફિકેશન.